Talking other stuff. Welcome on this fine Monday morning. I'm glad to have you this first Monday in February. And I want to say, for those of you who came to the recent show I was in, Black Comedy, I want to thank you. We had a good 2-week run. We closed Saturday night. But I did ask you to come. I invited you. Many of you did, and I want to thank you for that. It was good. But I also want to remind you, there's still some great live theater options going on right now. Kashmere High School's play, The Little Mermaid, opened this past weekend, but it's running again this weekend. So check out Kashmere High School if you want a good opportunity to see a great high school show. My good friend Brady Dundas is directing it. It's one of the first shows he's doing out there. So let's support these folks. But hey, appreciate you being here. Thanks for tuning in. I've got a really cool guest today. We have been negotiating for quite some time to get my guest on today. So I'm very happy to have her. But hey, stick around. We will be right back. So.
Community is more than just a place. It's the people, stories, and connections we share. At the Wenatchee World, we're your neighbors, your storytellers, and your trusted voice. From uncovering the issues that matter most to celebrating the moments that bring us together. We deliver the stories that keep the community moving forward. The Wenatchee World, your community voice, here every day.
When you've been in business for 40 years, it's because you understand change and you put members first, always. Now Works is announcing a change in their membership model. Up to 6 people on one membership that you can mix and match. The more people, the bigger the discounts. Introducing the Works shared membership model. One membership, friends and family, and flexibility. Works, the cleanest, friendliest, most helpful gyms you and your friends will ever join. Global Car Care has the best customer service in the Valley. From the moment you walk in the door, their goal is to help you stay on the road, so you can keep doing what's important to you. Global Car Care certified ASE mechanics stand behind your automotive repairs.
When you buy tires at Les Schwab, you're getting more than just tires. You're getting America's best tire warranty, 60-day satisfaction guarantee, no hassle road hazard protection, and free maintenance for the life of your tires. So if something happens to your tire on the road, we'll fix it, or we'll replace it, no questions asked. Other places make you pay extra for that kind of protection, but at Les Schwab, it's included with every set of tires, because more warranty means less worry, and nobody stands by their tires like Les Schwab. Get more from Les.
Okay, we're back. Street Talking Other Stuff, and I'm very happy to introduce Judge Christian Ferreira.
Good morning.
Superior Court Judge of Chelan County, and we have been working to get Judge Ferreira on the show for quite some time, so I'm glad you finally were able to take some time and be with us today. We are honored to have you.
Well, I'm honored to be on your program. Thank you. I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, great. So, tell us about yourself. What's going on, you know? Because I know you have a life outside your work, but just, you know, how's things going?
Yeah, things are going pretty well. I was trying to remember the last time I was on the program. I think it was several years ago.
It was a while back. Yeah.
It might have been when I first came on the bench.
Pretty close after, because I remember when we're going to talk about drug court, but it was about when drug court was starting.
Right.
And that was a few years ago.
That was quite a few years ago. Okay. Yeah. Right. So I just got reelected for my for another 4-year term.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good to have
you. And since I'm not sure if it was since the last program, but I had new benchmates since the beginning of my term when I first came on the bench, and so and things are going well with my benchmates. We get along really well. I was presiding judge for a few years there, and now I'm actually the current president of our Superior Court Judges Association, which is a state Association of Superior Court Judges.
Okay.
Every single judge that's Superior Court judge that's elected is automatically a member of that association. So do
they have to pay dues?
They do have to pay dues.
Well, that's why they're automatically fitted in, you know.
They do have to pay dues, yes. And we have over 200 Superior Court judges in the state.
Okay, right.
So it's been really interesting for me. We're a 3-judge county, but our biggest county, King, has, I think, 56 judges now at this point.
56 Superior Court judges?
Yes,
Whoa,
yes.
wow.
And so I'm learning a lot about how it works around the state and how different the courts are, and similar in some ways too. But it's been really interesting, and it's been great connecting with everybody at the state level.
Yeah, okay, so you've been a member of this organization ever since you've been elected Superior Court judge.
Yes.
But now you're president of the association.
Yes.
Was this the kind of thing where they said, oh, Judge Ferreira, this is a real honor, we want you to take? And when you get, or is it?
I was
how did you get the
contacted.
job,
So yeah,
you know?
so I actually was involved in a few different committees for the
Okay.
association early on. May not sound that exciting, but actually really important. The Pattern Forms Committee, which comes up with the forms that people use for their family law cases and other types of cases.
Okay.
And then I was involved in our education committee that puts on annual spring conference for the judges and some other committees. And so
Okay.
I was kind of getting to know other judges around the state through these committees, and we like to rotate our presidents with an Eastern Washington judge every 3 years. And
Right.
so I was contacted because I'd been active in the association, and people knew me and said, hey, would you be interested in doing this? It is one of those things where it's a great honor,
Yeah.
but it's also it's a lot of work,
I was
and so
gonna
not
say,
everybody
a lot
wants to
of
do it.
work. Yeah.
Right.
Now, well, you mentioned the Forms Committee. Can I go back to, I mean, that is probably more important than people would realize, because that's a lot of people's first connection with the court, isn't it?
It is. It
You
is.
know?
And actually, it is so important to have these, because most people who come into the court system that don't have attorneys, which is a lot of people we see,
Right.
don't know how to file anything for their cases. And so they can go to these, we have these packets put together for different
Right.
types of motions and cases, and the forms help walk them through how to follow the law and get their case heard properly.
Yeah.
So it's really important. Actually, it's helpful for judges too, because there are changes that happen in the law all the time, and sometimes judges don't, it's hard to stay on top of everything, but the forms help you go through and make sure that you're doing everything correctly.
Right. Well, I do a lot of domestic abuse reports and assessments, and I'm getting the forms from the court, and they are a lot simpler to read than they used to be, because I have to find specific things in you know, what's been checked off and what hasn't been checked, and
Right.
it's nice that they're in plain English. So it's an important thing. So good for you.
It is.
Good work on the Forms Committee.
Thank you. Yeah. Not everybody thinks it's exciting, but it is important.
Yeah. Okay, so your job as president of the association, what does that entail? What do you have to do, you know?
So I am the spokesperson for the association. If we ever need to take a position on anything, I am the one who expresses that position. Right now, we're in the middle of the legislative session, and so
Right.
one of the things that I do is I will go to Olympia and testify, or meet with representatives and senators to talk about the association's perspective on a certain bill. There's a few bills that we are actually hoping to push forward.
Okay.
We also look for funding for the court system, and so we advocate for that. We do have a legislative committee, and so we have our legislative co-chairs also go speak on our behalf and do work on our behalf as well.
Okay, all right. Okay, now what I would like you to do, if you don't mind, explain what a Superior Court judge does. What type of cases do you hear? What's the, not necessarily the difference between what you do between district and Superior Court, but a lot of people don't really know what it is a Superior Court judge's responsibilities are.
Right.
So do you mind going into that a little bit?
I will, and I will preface it with, I'm learning that, or I have learned over the last few years, that in other counties it's different. So our county with 3 judges, we have a certain type of rotation, the way that we handle our cases. So every 3 months I'm going to be on the criminal calendars.
Okay.
Which means the basic criminal hearings that we have, where it's arraignment, trial setting, change of plea and sentencing, we'll have on these calendars that are Mondays and Wednesdays.
Okay.
And if it's my month, I'm Monday, Wednesday, I'm on those calendars. And then on Tuesdays, I do the protection order calendars.
Okay.
And then we have civil law and motions that we do every other week on Fridays. And then the other weeks, our court commissioner handles those. So that's my month of what we call presiding, even though it's not.
Okay.
And
if I can interrupt for a second, the criminal stuff that you're doing, this is the initial stuff that somebody who's been arrested or accused of a felony is coming up. It's not the trials, it's just
right.
the initial appearances when the person first offers a plea.
Right, exactly. So actually, first appearances are every day, and that
Okay.
rotates between all of us. So
Okay.
each of us will have those throughout the month. Criminal trials are in your non-calendar months. So I will have 1 week of criminal trial week every month that I'm not on the criminal calendar month.
Okay.
And one of the other judges will then have the other criminal trial week. So we have 2 criminal trial weeks a month that are set. And then in amongst all those other things, we have family law trials, family law hearings. We do juvenile court, but it rests mostly with our court commissioner.
Right.
And dependencies also is the majority of that's done by our court
And
commissioner.
that's Commissioner Tracy Brand, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I've been in her courtroom a number of times.
Yes, you probably have been. Yes. So we do all kinds of different civil cases in addition to the criminal cases. A lot of the work we do is family.
Right.
Family work is a huge part of it.
And that has got to be tough sometimes, right?
It is. Yes, it is difficult. A lot of times we have 2 people saying opposite
Oh,
things,
yeah.
and you're trying to figure out where the truth is, and you're also trying to make a decision that's in the best interest of the child, and
Sure.
it's really difficult to see the parents struggling because they of course want to have as much time with their child as possible, and I can't always do that, right?
Yeah, I get a lot of court-ordered cases I do for domestic violence or anger stuff. And yeah, it's tough. You've got one party saying this, the other party saying the exact opposite, and you go to one party and say, well, the other people said this, that's not true. It's just, you need the wisdom of Solomon sometimes.
Right, right. And we do our best,
So, yeah.
but it is difficult.
Yeah. But you also have, you have guardian ad litems who do stuff to present you information as far as what is in the best interest of the child.
Yes, and they
So-
speak to the children because we can't talk to the children most of the time.
Right.
We have to make a special ruling to do that, and then when we do, it's usually only teenagers. It's very rare.
Yeah.
But the guardian ad litem can go speak with the kids, see what's going on with them, and then also do an investigation with each side and talk to other collateral sources to find
Sure.
out what's happening and what recommendations they have.
Okay, so how long were you an attorney before you decided to run for judge?
9 years.
9 years,
Yeah.
okay. What type of law work did you do?
I did civil litigation. So I did family law. I did employment work that went beyond litigation, actually. And then I did. It's kind of what we call complex civil litigation, where it's
Right.
the bigger cases, and working up those bigger cases is almost a specialty in itself.
Yeah, I would imagine. So,
It's complicated. Yeah.
So what was the impetus to say, hey, look, I want to switch and want to go to the bench? What was the mental process? And I'm sure you discussed it with your husband and your family and that kind of thing, because it's
I did.
major change.
It is. I went into law thinking I wanted to go into public service.
Okay.
And then that's not the route I went. Initially, when I went into practice law, I really enjoyed being an attorney. For doing private practice, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind, I did always want to go back to public service. And then these openings came up where there were 2 judges that were retiring.
Right.
And I started talking to people about what that would look like. I thought it was a bit early, and I thought I didn't really have much of a chance, but as I started going through the process, I realized, first of all, this is a really good fit for me.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how good of a fit it was until I really started to ask questions about it. And then secondly, that I had a chance to get there, and I did.
Okay.
And I do think, for my personality and the way that I look at things, this was an incredibly good fit for me to do.
Okay, so the first time you ran, you won.
Yes.
So this is your second term that you just was reelected to, or has there been 2 times before
It's
this?
so it's complicated because I was
'Cause
appointed.
I voted for you every time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Even when you've run unopposed, I've voted
Okay.
for
Well,
you.
we always appreciate that.
yeah.
Yes. No. So the first time I was appointed, and I had to run in that next general
I remember
election.
that now, yes.
And
Okay.
so that's when it was contested. And then the following, our elections, our regular elections, are the presidential election years. And so then
that's right.
I had to run in the next presidential election year and then the following presidential election
Okay.
year. So I've had actually 3 elections.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking to Judge Christian Ferreira from Chelan County Superior Court Judge. There's some specific stuff that we've talked about the last time she was here that we're going to get to when we come back, but we need to take a break. So, street talking other stuff. You stick around. We will be right back. So.
Her Royal Highness, Queen Ella Stimo!
Join NCWLIFE channel for live coverage of the Apple Blossom Festival Royalty Selection Pageant on Saturday, February 8th. Coverage is brought to you in part by our Platinum supporter, Alpine Air Heating and Cooling. Also by Harvest Valley Pest Control, Merry Maids, Together for Youth, and the Wenatchee Valley Dispute Resolution Center. Join us for live coverage of the Apple Blossom Festival Royalty Selection Pageant on your local TV station, the NCWLIFE channel.
Hey there folks, Blueberry Carrie here to invite you on out to Blueberry Hills to experience some real treats. Take a look at our homemade cream pies, our amazing cheesecakes, and don't forget our famous banana pudding. Remember, we're more than just great treats. People come from all over the world to experience what has been called one of the best destination restaurants in the Pacific Northwest. So come on out and see what all the fuss is about. Blueberry Hills in Manson. It's where the world is coming to.
Are you dealing with a pest or weed issue and you just don't know what to do?
We use the best pest control methods approved for areas with kids and pets.
Whether it's rats, mice, ants, or spiders,
or something else altogether, we provide the coaching and solutions you're looking for.
And you can know that your dollars are supporting a local, family-owned and operated business.
Allow us to help you get back to living healthy and pest-free. Harvest Valley Pest Control.
Hey, welcome back to Save Mart. What can we help you find today?
We're looking for a mattress.
Oh, right this way. We got a large selection. We have this pillow top here.
Oh, comfortable.
We have more to choose from down here.
Oh.
I think I have the perfect one over here for you.
I guess we'll take this one.
You'll find it at Save Mart. Full service at a low, low price.
Okay, we're back. Street talking other stuff. Talking with Judge Christian Ferreira, Superior Court Judge of Chelan County. And I do want to ask, what's your favorite part of the job?
You know, it's interesting because I speak to classes, and that is one of the things. They like to ask what's my favorite part and what's my least favorite part, which I have to be careful what I say. Because sometimes if it's really young kids, I can't say truly what it is. But my favorite part of the job is watching people get better. And so it is. And I will say adoptions, I've said this before, adoptions are one of the best parts of what we do, but I don't get to do those very often. But I know we're going to talk about drug court, but drug court is one of my favorite things. But it's also what happens outside of drug court, sometimes in the family law cases and in criminal cases where you see people get better. And I have some folks who are outside of drug court that I've watched them improve and be able to take their life back and get their kids back. And I just really, to watch those success stories and be a part of it and help them get there is absolutely the best part of what I do.
No, as I say it, I'm a sucker for a recovery story. I love to see people getting their act together and getting their life because, you know, life has got its challenges. I'm going to wax philosophical here.
It's true.
And there's so much great stuff, and just peace of mind is incredible. You know?
Right. And when people come to us, they're seeing us at some of their worst days.
Yeah, exactly.
Regardless of what it is, if it's addiction or if it's just they just are getting divorced and it's very raw and emotional and they're upset and they're maybe not behaving very well. But a lot of people can get out of that, and to watch them get better. And I do try to give people grace when they're in the beginning stages of whatever traumatic experience that they're going through, to give them time and get counseling and do other things to help them get better. And to see those success stories is really rewarding.
Yeah, when I supervised cops, it was the same thing. I mean, stuff that's routine for us, you have to realize these people are at a point where their lives are horrible, you know.
Right.
So, okay, Drug court.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember we talked about that. It was just starting a number of years ago. How is that program going? Is this becoming what you envisioned for it? Is it working the way we hoped? What challenges have you had?
Yeah. I don't know if I knew what I was hoping to see. I was hoping to help people, for us to help people, but I didn't know how big it was going to get, how many people we would have graduate, how long it would take for it to take off. For the first couple of years, we did have quite a few graduates. The program was building up slowly but surely, and it was going pretty well. I mean, we had some people that, even after they graduated, they struggled. We've lost a couple people to overdoses. And which is awful, but we've also had quite a few success stories. And we did, when the Blake decision came out, we had probably, I think, about 9 people out of our 11 whose charges got dropped because of that decision. And so we kind of started back from scratch, and I would say we're at the point now where we were right around that time.
Okay, and the Blake decision was when they decriminalized or said that some drug offenses couldn't continue to be considered criminal. I'm not phrasing it right.
It was finding that the possession of controlled substances law was unconstitutional.
Okay, all right.
And so it eliminated those. I mean, basically those got dismissed and eliminated from people's records. And so what we now have in our drug court, part of the reason I think we're building back up is we have folks that ultimately the prosecutor's office has to sign off on somebody going into drug court because it's a big change outside of the system. And what we were doing before was diversion, essentially, where people would divert outside of the regular criminal process, and they'd come to drug court, and if they graduate, they get their charges dismissed. And if they don't, then they have to proceed forward and get sentenced on their charges. Now, one of the things that we are doing quite a bit of is post-conviction drug court, which means that people plead guilty. And then they go through the program. If they graduate, they have a couple of charges that are really serious that would carry prison time. Those get dismissed. And then they get sentenced on the lesser crime to 0 days. So that's the goal for the post-conviction drug court participants, is to get them to graduate and then just have 0 days. But they still have the conviction on their record.
But what is the process for them? I mean, when somebody comes to you and says they want to do drug court, what's the process?
So they'll start by putting in an application, and if the prosecutor's office will look at the application and will bring the applicant to us and say, hey, we're looking at this person, and here are either our concerns or here's why we think this person would be good, and we talk about it, and then we bring them in for what we call a probationary period, where it can be kind of extended depending. We like to make sure that people have had the opportunity to go through inpatient treatment if that's what they're going to do, and get out of inpatient, because sometimes it's that in between getting out of inpatient and back into the real world, essentially, it's really tough for people.
Yeah, very tough.
And we don't want to bring them in and set them up for failure. We don't want to have them officially in drug court until they know this is what I want to do. And so after that is usually when we look at entering them in.
Ken, I'm sure it's explained to them in detail what it is going to be expected of them.
Yes.
As far as what they need to do. And are you finding part of the challenge is dealing with people who previously have not been responsible enough to make, I don't mean to categorize them negatively, but responsibility in some people's life is a challenge. I mean, things you and I do as a matter of, regular habit, we just do. Some of these folks has not been part of their life before. As far as living a responsible life. I mean, being on time, not oversleeping. And again, not to categorize folks, but
by the time they get to us for drug court, they're ready to make a change. And so we do see actually quite a bit of responsibility early on. Some of what we see is people trying to do too much at first, and it's like, slow down. You have a lot that you need to work on for your recovery. Don't try to do all these things all at once. But I think one of the biggest challenges for people is being in front of the court, being in front of the judge, and not having the judge telling them they're doing something wrong. And so it's that being upfront and honest with the court and the rest of the team, I think, is a struggle for some people at first, because it's strange. It's a strange feeling to be telling the judge what your history is with substances and crimes, and just being upfront and honest. I think that is tough.
Okay, did you find people struggling with that? You know, because again, it's a different situation than they normally are when you're standing in front of a judge in a courtroom.
Yes, it's strange for them, and you can see, because I'll step down from the bench and I come closer. I sit down with the attorneys at the table, and so they're seeing me on level, and you can see the change in their eyes. Like, this is really strange to see the judge like this up close, and for me to be saying good things to them. You're doing a great job, and having the prosecutor say that too is a really big deal. And I think it's a bit of an adjustment, but I also think people really like having that. It's
now is the person who's in the drug court, is their attorney involved in this process as well? I would imagine they must be.
That's a good question. They are, depending on who their attorney is. So we have our main public defense office, the counsel for defense, and they handle a lot of our criminal cases.
I would imagine,
but sometimes there's a conflict because they've represented somebody else that's involved in the case and they can't do it. So in those situations, somebody might have another attorney, or if they've hired an attorney. And so if they enter into drug court, that attorney is involved for a period of time, but we have our attorney that's our defense attorney for drug court. And so that is the person who will represent them if they enter in.
So there is a specific attorney connected with drug court who does take over the representation of these folks.
Yes.
And he's there to protect their rights, I would imagine.
Yes.
She, okay,
yes.
all right. Okay, forgive me.
No, it's fine, yes. But yes, that's the attorney who's been with us. Sunshine Poliquin has been the defense attorney who's been with us since the very beginning. And we do have a drug court prosecutor. Currently, it's Felicia Chandler, she actually previously worked in Okanagan County in the drug court there, and so she's been a fantastic addition to the team. And then we have our treatment providers from the center who have been the same people all along. And then we have a representative from our clerk's office, and then our court administrator is also on the team. So it's a team that's set.
And everybody involved in this sincerely wants the person to succeed.
Yes.
To end the addictive process or whatever they're going through and to get their life back on a responsible track. And that's what everybody's working for, right?
Right, exactly. And you're right, it's more than just staying clean, right? There's a whole bunch more that goes into it. It's making sure that you get stable with your living situation, with your relationships in your life, which are one of the most difficult things.
And that's, well, don't get me started.
But that's a struggle because people have a hard time disconnecting from people that they need to. Sometimes it's family members that they need to disconnect from for a while. But I will say the people that are in drug court for a period of time, they do a lot better at these types of interactions, responsibilities, relationships than some of the other people that I see, for example, in family court that are struggling with similar types of issues, not addiction, but just life, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I run into people probably 3 times a year, and they come up, hey, how you doing? And I know them from the street, or I know them from counseling, or I know them when I worked at the jail, and I know they're recovering. And I say, how you doing? I'm doing good. You know, and I say, what are you doing? Well, going to work. And then I ask them this, what are you doing for fun? Well, nothing, man, nothing, because to them, fun is going out and getting loaded and doing. And I said, look, you got to find something fun. You have to find something that makes the straight life enjoyable, because sometimes the straight life sucks. So, I mean, I wake up some days and I go, my gosh, this life, you know, it's the same. But
life
you have
is
to
tough.
do something. That's why I always encourage people to get involved with the Make Recovery Epidemic program here in town, because those folks do stuff, they socialize beyond just going to meetings. They do have activities. They go fishing, they go bowling. I know they've got an annual thing they do over on the coast. But you have to have some fun in your life, okay?
Yeah.
You have to. It can't just be work, going home, and sitting around fighting to stay straight.
That's very true. That's true for everyone. Really, it's true for everyone.
Yeah.
When you talk about like the job that we have, and like you were in law enforcement, you know, you have to have things outside of that
Big
job,
time, yes.
And to enjoy your life. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, Judge, thank you very much for being here.
Yeah,
really,
thank you.
It's always great. Appreciate what you do. Appreciate your contribution to the community.
Thank you.
And you like your job, right?
I do like
Good.
my job.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
But, okay. But hey, Street Talk and other stuff. I want to thank you for being here today. And I want to remind you that the Kashmere High School show, Little Mermaid, is playing this weekend. I think it's Friday, Saturday. But check online to see. Support these folks, okay? And upcoming is the Wenatchee High School show in March, which is Romeo and Juliet. And my granddaughter, Maya, just happens to be playing the role of Juliet. So that's one you want to plan for, too. But hey, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you being here. We'll see you next week. Street Talk and other stuff. You have a great day. Bye-bye.